Welcome everyone to today's webinar. We'll get started shortly. Again, I'd like to welcome everybody to today's webinar. We're going to give everybody about a minute and then we'll get started on today's topic. So welcome everyone to our webinar. Warning, reading may cause magic. My name is Angie Wilson and I am the Family Wellbeing and Support Manager at QCC. I would like to introduce you to today's moderator at QCC, Courtney Jackson. Over to you, Courtney.
You're on mute.
Thank you, Alonzo. Hi, everybody. My name is Courtney Jackson, and I am a birth through 5 literacy coach with QCC. I've spent over the past 20 years advocating and educating some of our littlest learners across Georgia, Texas, DC, and now I'm back in Georgia. So welcome today to our webinar. The topic is Warning, Reading May Cause Magic, and is brought to you by leading corporate sponsors from Carter's. For over 10 years, their support has helped us provide information and resources to family. And if you're watching this later on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. If you're interested in learning more about what we're doing, please click on that notification bell so you'll never miss out on another Parent Power webinar. So let's get into it. Thanks for joining us today for this heartwarming and practical webinar designed for parents and caregivers of early childhood educators. Discover how reading with young children from birth to age 5 can spark imagination, strengthen bonds, and lay foundations for lifelong learning. You'll learn some simple strategies to make storytime engaging, explore the science behind early literacy, and leave with tips and book recommendations to help you create magical reading moments every day. So let's get started. At this time, I'd like to introduce our panelists. First, we have Mr. Alonzo Tompkins. Alonzo is the director and owner of Kale Academy, a family child care learning home in Atlanta, Georgia. And I personally work with Mr. Alonzo in the LJFA program. Moving on to Dr. Stacy Wallins, she is the director of implementation with the Rollins Center of Language and Literacy at the Atlanta Speech School. Stacy has over 25 years as an SLP. Her areas of expertise include parent education, early intervention, and speech language development disorders in children, including those who are culturally and linguistically diverse. Thank both of you for joining us to share your insights on this very important topic.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. We're going to start off with a chat with our panelists after reading with young children and laying foundation for lifelong learning. Remember to leave your questions and answers in the section marked Q&A, not in the chat. So let's get started. Before we get into our discussion, we have some poll questions for you all, and we'd love for you to participate. Gauge where we are before we begin. Now, as the poll comes up, you'll see that you'll have to scroll down. There's 6 questions. We'll give you a few moments to answer the questions. Make sure you scroll all the way down and answer all 6. And when you're done, indicate it in the chat by saying done or dropping a heart emoji. I'll give you a few minutes. And remember, there are no wrong answers. All right, we see some people finishing up. We'll give you about 2 more minutes. Thank you, Letitia. We see you're done. Raquel, Sharonda. Hi, Eunice. Thanks for joining. Afternoon, Raquel and Joyce. All right. So as they work on the compiling everyone's answers behind the scenes, we're going to go ahead and jump into this discussion. First question goes to Stacy. Stacy, what role does choice play in helping children develop positive relationships to reading?
Okay, so we all know, hey, everybody. So glad that you all are here. When I think about choice is a motivating factor. And when you think about how children learn, and particularly how they learn language, motivation is key. And you can make or break motivation by forcing a young child to kind of read or perform a task that they're either not interested in or they're not ready for. So What I recommend when introducing reading, you want to make it fun and engaging. And part of that engagement is really allowing them to choose what is read to them, even if it's one that you've read a gazillion times to them. So that choice really helps motivate them and makes them want to engage. So when you think about choosing books or opportunities to engage in reading activities, you want to choose those books or activities that align with their interests. If you have a kid that's into dinosaurs, dinosaurs is going to be the thing. And you use that in order to kind of branch out to other things that may be connected to that and just to build their desire to learn more. And you want to make sure that they have the power to choose because that gives them ownership and gives them that motivation.
Thank you for sharing that insight. It's very important that you pointed out how choice, the child having the choice, makes it more engaging for them. And so they want to learn and it doesn't stifle their motivation. Thanks for that. Alonzo, the next question goes to you. What are some of the most effective ways to incorporate song and rhyme into early learning literacy routines?
I start with saying daily habits, daily habits, daily habits. It's all about the consistency that you do with your kids. Um, you could use songs and rhymes in multiple ways, like when they doing transitions from cleaning up their room. You could put on a cleanup song while they're cleaning up their room, they're singing songs, learning new vocabulary words, different things of that nature. You also can do it when they're washing their hands. Of course, kids wash their hands for like 20 seconds. So it's like they could sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, Humpty Dumpty. They can do it when they're walking to the park. They don't have to just do it at daycare or at school. They could do it at home. They could do it any and everywhere. Like with us, we have it involved with our music and movement. They do the head, shoulder, knees, and toes. They do the freeze dance, which they love. They do the wiggle dance to get the little wiggles out in the morning. It's all type of different activities that you could do to make, like Stacy said, to make it learning and make learning fun and engaging. Because they're doing their gross motor skills by moving around. They are singing, jumping, dancing, and you don't have to think big as far as in doing complex words. You can start small by using small rhyming pairs. Cat, jump with the hat, things of that nature. So just start with the small words and build your way up. And before you know it, they'll be done learn different things. They're doing their cognitive skills, they're doing their gross motors, and they're making learning fun. That's what it's all about.
Yep, I agree with Alonzo on that. And those early rhymes, it allows children to hear the language that they're going to have to be reading in the future. So all of this stuff that we're doing is preparing them for learning how to read and being good readers.
I agree.
Thank you both for those wonderful insights. Alonzo, your point about making sure that those songs are embedded into your daily consistent routines builds the structure and the consistency that children need to feel safe. And like Stacey was mentioning, because these skills are helping their brains develop for reading long term. So let's switch subjects a little bit. Well, not subjects a little bit, but let's switch. And Stacey, I have a question for you. Can you share an example of an interactive reading experience that has had a noticeable impact on a child's enthusiasm for books?
Well, when I read to when I read to my children when they were little, or when I engage with young children, being able to choose a book that allows them to engage either verbally or non-verbally is really important. Some of these words kind of repeat words and phrases like the rhythm and rhyme that we were just talking about in the last question. And then others provide them opportunities to kind of act out the words and engage that way. Some are musical, which I love, and then that allows them to sing and dance to engage. And for me, there's nothing better than to have a child like so into the book that they're talking about the characters or they're talking about what they see on the page. and really making them part of that reading experience is important. Like I said, it builds that investment and that desire to want to learn more. So one example of one of those kinds of books is What's in My Garden. And this is actually a free book that was written by QCC and the Rollins Center. So this is a food mystery book. So being able to kind of look at the book, see the pages, and talk about food and where food comes from, and things that children already engage with in their daily routine is just really helpful. It helps them get excited about what's happening. They end up, wanting to read it over and over again. Or you may find that they will want to make the foods that they see in the book. So as a speech pathologist, I use interactive reading to connect to everything else that I do with a child during therapy. And that's something that you can do whether a child has a language disorder or not. Really talking about making food or whatever the topic is of the book fun makes children more excited about it and they want to learn more. And once they learn more, then that's your little way in to build vocabulary, to build comprehension, to build all of those things that they're going to need for later reading.
That's such great advice for parents at home, focusing on choosing a book that will help that will allow their children to participate both verbally and or non-verbally, so they stay interested and really gain a better understanding of that story. That's fantastic advice. But keeping along the same topic, Alonzo, how do interactive books play-based reading activities support both cognitive and motor development in young children?
It all starts with having a more hands-on experience to keep the children engaged. Like Stacy said, you want to get books that they are going to like, they're going to love. You have books that have textures in it. Like you could turn it and you have a feel this. It may be some wool, or it may be smooth, or it may be sandpaper. You also can read about the fall. You go outside and pick up different rocks, pick up different leaves, and you can feel the different textures in them. You could even read about, like they said, read about books. The kids can read about different fruit like lime and lemon. And then guess what? You can bring it to life by making lemonade. So when they go to the store with their parents, they can say, "Oh, look, mom, lemon. We made lemonade today." And then the parent can say, "How did it taste? Did it taste sweet? Did it taste sour?" So you are just building vocabulary any way you can. You also want to do some read alouds that got manipulatives in them, like you may have a sensory bin, or you may be reading a book about cars. You could have some cars on display. You could be doing something about ice cream, and you could have some fake ice cream cones on display, and then you could end up making some ice cream later on. So it's all about bringing it to life. You got puzzles that you could do to incorporate the cognitive skills and the fine motor skills, because that brings on the decision making and the problem solving, because it's like, okay, what puzzle piece goes where? And then, if you're in a small group, you got help. If you're in a large group, you got even bigger help. So all those things strengthen the thinking skills, and it brings a more enjoyable time with them to say, "Ooh, let's read this book about plants. Let's read this book about airplanes, trains, fire trucks." And you just incorporate those things to where you can even bring a fire truck or have a fireman come to the school, and they go outside and they learn about the fire truck in the book and in person. So you know
Those are awesome examples, Alonzo, of how to make a book really come to life and really draw those life to book connections. So it makes it more meaningful for our little learners. Now let's get into another important area. This question's for you, Stacy. What strategies would you recommend to families who want to support language development at home, but find that they just don't really have the time or the resources to do so?
Well, in my work with parents and families, I always try to reinforce that strong language skills are the foundation for future literacy skills and all learning skills. And I am a parent. I remember that age when my kids were young and you want to do all the things that you can to make them their best person, but life happens. So what I would typically tell parents, and I took this advice myself, um, use your everyday routine to help support language. And when I talk about, language development, it's not just about, oh, well, can you tell me your numbers? Can you tell me what this letter is? What, and all of that. It really is about communication, right? Language is about
Mhm.
communication. And the best gift that you can give your child is talking and engaging with them. And that's free, absolutely free. Now, although it's free, it does like require being intentional about your engagements. So when you are doing part of your everyday routine, when you're bathing your child, when you're dressing your child, when you're allowing them to choose their own clothes and dress themselves, you want to make sure to engage in conversation with them. I know that there are times when we have to be directive and tell kids what to do, but you also want to be able to talk with them at their level. So describing what you or your child are doing during a daily routine. Okay, we're about to get dressed. Oh boy, we need your shoes. Can you go get your shoes? Get the pink sneakers and then get your pink shirt or, something like that. Um, and see how they respond to that. Can they get you what you ask for? When you are, going on the way to school, or if you're walking to school or driving to school, talk about what you're seeing as you're driving. What do you see out of the window? Oh, I see such and such. I see some trees. Oh, we're at a stoplight. And then you can talk about your daily routine and the things that are happening. Um, the other thing that I always tell parents is to take time to listen and pay attention to how your child responds to you, whether that response is verbal or nonverbal. Sometimes when our kids are younger or when a kid may be having difficulty with learning language, they may be able to understand but not say the thing that you need them to say. So you have to be able to kind of know and understand these things so that you can help support their learning. Um, and I do recognize as a parent that sometimes putting in those extra steps seem like it's a lot, but it's really not. It really provides them with what they need. And in the long run, it'll help with their language development.
Absolutely. And I have a 4 year old and I have an 8 year old. And my 4 year old, she has a pretty strong stutter. And so we do a lot of modeling of language here at home, where we get down on her level. We're looking in her eye. We're modeling how the sentence should sound that we know she's trying to say. But of course, we don't jump in and correct her, try to let her get it out, but then also modeling that language and having your child repeat it back to you is always very helpful because they can hear the tone and the pace in your voice and understand better how to convey messages. Thanks, Stacey, for that great answer. Our next question is for Alonzo. Alonzo, what types of books or material are most effective for strengthening fine motor skills in early learners?
Well, we have all sorts in our art station. We have kid-friendly scissors. We have Play-Doh. Again, we have puzzles. We got Legos. We got blocks, paint brushes. We got um, shoelaces, we got zippers, we got buttons, all type of different sorting materials. And we also have something called, I'm gonna share with you, it's called well, our curriculum coach, she started something called Busy Books, and we introduced these to the kids to where they do different things. Like, I'll show you an example. This book is called Early Literacy and Numeracy Busy Books. So they can take the stuff off, like the letters, they can put them back together, they could match them. They got animals, they have food, they have shapes, they have numbers, and this is just one of the books. That's one book she has. She has the fine motors about writing down and wiping it off. You know, practice letters. You got different letters in here. We have tons of busy books. We also have a touch and count. You got that. You got touch and count. And then when they're older, or we have the older kids, we have something called the pre-primer words. It's sight words, where they just, sound the words out. They take them off, and, away, big. So all these different things that you can do that will help your kid with their fine motor skills, and it will strengthen them. So when you incorporate those things along with tablets, very minimum with the tablet time, because you don't want them to get so used to having tablets that they don't want to do hand over hand things and things like that. But with the tablets, you could do dragging, you could do swiping, you could do coloring with the tablets, because even with tablets, they support fine motor and cognitive skills too. So um yeah, like it's just writing everything. But we use our busy books every day because, again, it's different things and different avenues that you can learn with doing something that's going to make them have fun, and things that make them just learn different ways from the traditional method.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I I'm a big fan of picking up things like at home, cleaning up and picking up things like if stuff is falling on the floor or if it's time to clean up after dinner or breakfast, that young children help support that as well.
And thank you both for giving very practical, hands-on things that we can do as soon as we get off the call in our classrooms or in our homes. Now we're about to jump into the juicy part. We're going to answer some questions from you all and other people who have signed up for the webinar. All right, our first question, and any panelist can answer this question. As an educator, how do I design a reading routine that attracts children who are reluctant to engage in books?
Alonzo, do you want to take this one first?
Sure. You want to select the topic of interest, things that are related to their activities: cooking, shopping, science experiments, things of that nature. Let the kids pick the books. If the kids pick the books, then you really can't go wrong. You want to encourage participation with the read aloud attempts. You want to help them sound the words out. You want to be like, hey, what is this word? Or you want to have them read it to you, or point out the words, or point out what the book is about. If they point at a tree, you say, okay, what do the trees do? The trees grow the leaves, and the leaves fall off, and things like that. And if they need help with sounding out the word, it's okay. And when they do it, you reward them with stickers and small prizes, and let's say, hey, come help me read the book. And after we read the book, we could go and get ice cream. And they'll be like, okay, ooh, I'm looking forward to finishing the book.
I love ice
So,
cream.
right. So once they finish reading the book, it's like, okay, I'm done. They go get ice cream. And then you, as a parent, you
Yep.
have to hold your end because they held their end by reading. So you just want to foster the joy to build the engagement of reading and learning, because again, literacy is everywhere and it's free, and you don't have to be a professional in order to learn how to read. So just read every chance you get to the kids, because they're sponges at this age. So soak them up with all the literacy and learning and everything of that nature.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think when you talked about having like a real life activity, it may be that you don't start with reading the book. Maybe you start with the activity that's fun. Maybe you're making, applesauce, and then you find a book that talks about apples and how they grow and all of that. And then that way it's connected to something fun that the child has already done and they find interest in. But I do think that creating a routine is about having the book, having activities that can reinforce the book, just like Alonzo said, that can reinforce the topics in the book, the words or vocabulary in the book, and some of the actions in the book, because then it becomes part of this cycle of what you do all day. And it's not just something random, like, oh, I got to sit down here and read. No, oh, we're going to read so that we can do this next thing. Or we're going to read a recipe so that we can know how to make something. So you don't have to always set up reading like, oh, we're going to read a book. But if you are reading the daily schedule for the day, that's a reading activity.
Mhm.
If you are reading a recipe to cook, it's a reading activity. So you can make anything a reading activity and make it part of your routine.
Yep, daily
Those-
habits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
daily habits. And I would also like to add to your ideas about fostering the sense of joy by choice. They're picking a book of choice. They're participating in an activity around the story before or after the story to keep them more engaged. And if you're at home, our little ones love the things that are theirs. They love their blankets. They love their loveys. And you can use that to your advantage. You can pick a special spot in your house. You can call it the book nook, or you can call it a cozy corner where they're allowed to get comfy and relaxed in a space. And even if they're not reading the story and they're just pretend reading, they're turning the pages, they're flipping, they're mimicking what you've already done several times before, that is all fostering strong development across the board. So these are great ideas. Our next question is, as a parent, I notice that my child consistently refuses to sit down for reading time. I want to foster a love of books, but my child seems uninterested. What strategies can I try to make reading more engaging for my child? And I believe we touched on a little bit of this in the previous question, but do either of you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I think you're going to hear this revolving door of make it engaging. But my advice would be don't give up. The fact that they're interested in the pictures and what's happening in the story is a good sign. What you don't want to do is try to force them to continue to do something that they may not be ready for. So what I would typically do is, as long as they're engaged, you're engaged. You talk about or ask them what's happening with the pictures. What do you see? If the child isn't able to answer those questions, then you can either model what the answers are. And then when you read that book again, you may find that your child will give that response that they remembered that you gave. The other thing that you could do is probably ask more simple questions first so that you can be able to build up kind of their ability to answer more difficult questions. You also just want to make sure and kind of read what's happening. Are they not staying engaged because something else is going on and they're distracted? If so, then you may want to minimize the distractions when you all have reading time. But if they're two and they sit and look at the storybook like 3 pages, that's good. Eventually you can start
Yeah.
building up, because a child at very young ages only has a limited attention span unless they're really, really interested in it. So my first advice is don't give up. Just don't throw the book out and be like, oh, well, we're not going to do that anymore. repetition is key. You can repeat engaging with that book, or if they're standing, you can walk around with them and engage with the book if they're still engaged, but you want to follow their lead.
And speaking to follow their lead, I have a 4-year-old, like I said, and that repetition is key. And with some of the books that we're very familiar with, I let her retell the story. That keeps her interested. I also sing. If it's a book we're familiar with and it has a rhyming pattern, I just put a simple tune to it or change my voice slightly, do a silly voice for each characters. All those things can also keep children engaged when they seem like they may not be interested. Alonzo, do you have anything else to add?
Yes, with the strategies, like I said, you just want to keep them engaged. So if they refuse, just let them pick, and then just let them lead the way.
Yeah, all righty. So engagement is key, choice is key, and the repetition is key. All right, on to our next question. This question is, my child and I read a picture book together, they seem to enjoy the pictures, but they aren't really interested in the text. What can I do to encourage my child's interest in the text as well as the pictures? I've tried questions such as, what do you think the character will do next? And Stacey, you've kind of spoken to this before, but do you have anything to add?
Hold on, I have my four-legged children are barking in the background.
No worries.
So again, when you're thinking about having children engage with the text, it depends on their age. If they're young, if they're like 1 or 2 years old, they don't necessarily recognize that what you're saying is connected to the text. So you just want to be able to continue to focus on oral language. That is the part that's important. This book is telling a story. So if they're not interested in the text, you can really reinforce what's happening with the pictures if that's what they're interested in. As children become older, you want to be able to connect the oral language with the written word. You can point to the words as you're reading them. If it's something like a repetition or a rhythm and rhyme song that says, and then we jump up and down. When it gets to the point of jump up and down, you can point to it and make the word jump and jump along with it. You can do all kinds of fun things to kind of connect the pictures that they're interested in with the word that represents those pictures. The other thing is, I thought about the questions that the people are asking. Again, think about if that question may be too difficult for your child. And if it is, then you can actually provide the answer to the question yourself and model what you want them to say or what you expect the answer to be.
It's great insight, Stacy. I would like to add, for the older children, let's say our 3-year-olds or our very well-developed 2-year-olds, you can definitely provide a kid-friendly definition for some of the words so they understand in their own language what some of our bigger words may mean. And if you can consistently use those words throughout the day, because research says that it takes 12 to 20 occurrences with the word for it to stick into our older children and that language become expressive. So you're using the word all day. For example, if the word is discard in the book, someone discarded of a toy, you can use the word discard all day. Instead of saying, go throw that in the trash can, you can say, let's discard it. Let's put it over here. Use multiple words to help them understand that language. So, because when they understand it, then they want to use it and they want to see how it's used more and more. Thanks for that, Stacy. Our next question is, as an educator, how can I use pictures and visuals to encourage emergent reading skills in the classroom?
I'll jump on this one, Stacey, if you don't
Okay.
mind. Um, use visuals to encourage prediction, like what's going to happen next. Can you tell me what's going to happen? Can you think about it? Like, get them engaged, because when you get them engaged, it make them be more focused and stuff. And like you all said, you want to model the correct language and tone. Don't be reading a book and the book is about, well, the part that you're reading is a happy part, but you're reading sad. No, if you read about something happy, you be happy about it. If you read about something sad, you be like, oh, so the tone has to match the language or the vocabulary words that you're using at the time, so they'll catch on and be like, oh, so that's that they was happy, or they was not feeling well, or things like that. And you want to provide child-friendly definitions, like Ms. Jackson said. You want to break it down to them so they'll understand what it means, use it in multiple ways, and things of that nature. And you want to pair the visuals with the manipulatives to maintain focus. So if you see them trying to get unfocused or they're not interested in it, you just pull out something that's tied into the book. Like if they get up and walk away, if they walking away, let's say they go into the block area, you go to the block area with them and say, hey, even with these blocks, the blocks can grow bigger and taller and things of that nature. So just finding different ways to incorporate everything tied into it to make it to where literacy is fun.
Thank you for that, Alonzo. We're going to keep moving on. Next question. As a parent of a toddler, I would love to expand my child's vocabulary, but I'm unsure of where to start. How can I use everyday moments to expand my child's vocabulary, fine motor skills, and cognitive skills? And how can I link all this to reading time? Those are a lot of things we're linking together, but since we're teaching the whole child, we can do all the things.
Well, I'll start with the language piece.
Okay.
I love that you're thinking about starting with the daily, everyday routine. And I, for one, am thinking about food. I love food. You have to eat every day, 3, 4, 5 times a day if you're a young child. So I always start with food. So I use my daily routine, which is going grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning up, as an opportunity to expand vocabulary. If, for example, you take your child to the grocery store, you can have them make a grocery list. Either you can have them practice writing, and they may have scribble scrabble, but it's their list. You can also cut out pictures from the circular. I'm dating myself, but from like the weekly circular that talks about what things are on sale, or just different pictures of fruits and vegetables or items that you want to get at the store, and you can create a list. So your child has a list. When you all go to the grocery store, it's their responsibility to help pick the thing, and they can match to see if the item looks the same as what they have on their list. They can pick that. You can work on counting skills with that, like how many apples are we going to buy from the store, or how many boxes of cereal are we going to buy from the store. You can talk about color of the product, texture, taste, all of that. And that expands your child's vocabulary. It's not just an apple. They see what the shape of the apple is, what the skin of the apple feels like, what it tastes like. Is it crunchy or is it a mushy apple? Everybody hates mushy apples. Well, at least I do. But you can talk about those things during the day, and that's part of your daily routine. Washing clothes, sorting clothes to sort out their color. What are the whites from the colors, or, oh, we're going to put all the reds together. That's an opportunity to focus on language, but also different cognitive skills. So you shape that vocabulary by starting with what you're already doing and what words they may already know, and then expanding them by talking about descriptors of those words. So you can have your child help you cook. That's another thing that'll help with other skills that aren't just language related, but really thinking about how to categorize and, predict and think critically about things.
Those are great practical examples. I feel the need to jump in because I have a almost 4-year-old as of July the 1st. And something we do around here is label the house. Label, label. Simple things from doorknobs to stove, but also if you want to expand that language, on the mirror in the bathroom, we have mirror, but we also have the word reflection. So therefore, she's learning more by seeing, oh, this is in the mirror. In the mirror I can see my reflection. And then when we're out in the world and we're walking past the car, she said, I see me. I said, yes, that is your reflection. Just like when we're in the house, you're constantly making connections, you're constantly using the language and vocabulary, because that's what's going to help build their brain for reading. Alonzo, do you have anything to add?
Nah, Stacy.
Your little ones were
Stacy did
once toddlers. You have big girls now, but
it. Yeah. Yeah, mine are older now, so they are actually cooking and getting the books to read and cook and stuff. And sometimes they help us with words. It's like, hey
okay.
dad, what this word mean? I'm like, I'm finna go to sleep now. So, but yeah, like it's never
Okay.
it never gets old with learning new words and things of that nature.
That's great. We're going to keep it moving. We have one more question that was pre selected. My child loves to sing and dance, and I want to continue that in her daily life. What type of activities can combine both reading and motor skill development? And how do I bring this up to the child care provider?
Hmm, that's a good one. But that's kind of tricky because you don't want to step over nobody's toes, especially when it come down to us daycare providers. Because as parents, sometimes, because I'm a parent, you don't want to go to them and say, "Hey, I'm trying to teach you how to run your business." But there's also multiple ways that you can incorporate it. Like here at Kale, we have something called the Spell Your Name game. It combines the fine motor and gross motor skills to where we during circle time we'll get like a placard and we'll just have a child name and we'll show it to everyone and we'll be like, who name is this? Do you see your name? They'll stand up and then they'll get their little finger and they'll point to each letter in their name. Let's say that their name is Leah. They'll say Leah, and then their friends would join in and say, Leah, Leah, jump up and down, turn all around and jump up and down. Leah, Leah, jump up and down, come spell your name. And then Leah will spell her name. Or if she a little younger to where she cannot spell her name, then we will still assist her. And afterward, they were like, yay. Then she'll sit down. Another way is here we also have a music and a singing and music coach to where she'll come and teach them different songs from different cultures. We'll do music and movement and bring out the drums or the cymbals, and she'll teach us different um, beats to everything. So all of those things like yoga, you can have all those things incorporated that you want to introduce to them if they're not already doing it. Because again, you want to have a hands-on, fun, enriching experience at daycare as long as also with at home. So if you could tie those two in together, that's wonderful because you don't have to do everything outside the box. Sometimes some things can be what you already doing, you just doing it more. Make learning fun, make understanding the literacy fun, and just just combine everything all together.
I agree with that. And I think I agree with Alonzo with, tread lightly, I guess, with kind of your childcare provider. They've got a lot of different personalities and, students who may need different kinds of supports, but I think that parent input is important. So if, for example, I told Mr. Alonzo, well, I know my child loves to sing and dance, and when we do the singing and dancing, that's when we do the cleaning up. He's going to figure out a way to incorporate it within what he does because he knows that it motivates my child. So I think, the parent and the child care provider are partners in this. So I think when you do talk to your provider, just say, this has really been so helpful for how I engage with my child. Can you, is it possible? How can you incorporate it? And, the child care providers are like the parents away from home, and they want the best for your child the same way you want the best for your child. So whatever you incorporate at home, they're going to try to incorporate at school as long as it benefits their development, and vice versa. So I think that we both of parents and childcare providers are, they're partners in this. So I say go ahead and talk to your provider in a voice of a parent who wants the best for their child.
Right. And don't be afraid to come to us, because guess what? We don't know the answers for everything. It may be a child that at home, when it's time for nap time, has to be rocked a certain way or has to be facing a certain way. Bring those ideas to us to where we could make it a more pleasurable experience here at school, because they're going to be here just as much as they're going to be at home, sometimes even more. So, don't be afraid as a parent to be, to have suggestions or anything of that nature. And that's why a lot of the daycares have suggestion box. You don't have to put your name on it, just write it out, dump it in. We look at them and we listen, and we will let you know, like, hey, whoever thought of this idea, kudos to you. Thank you for helping improve our program if it's beneficial.
These are such great ideas, and talking about how the center, the teacher, and the parents all work in partnership together to help build that strong foundation that fosters joy, that encourages motivation for children so they're excited about reading. This is a great conversation, and I appreciate both of you all for participating in it. And so, as we are about to wrap up, because we have a few minutes left, I want to ask everyone to look in the chat, because there is a link. The QCC team needs your feedback. So if you don't mind, before we leave the call, if you could fill out that survey and let us know about your thoughts about today's webinar, that'd be greatly appreciated. We have a question from our question box. There's also there's a QR code if you would like to scan that to take the survey as well. Now we're going to segue into our question and answer section. We've been checking out the question and answers during our discussion, and here we go.
Hey, thank you. This has been very informative. I have a 21 and 2 17-year-olds, and reading has always been very important. Thinking about food and books, one of my daughters, she loved to read, and so one of the early books that we tried was Because of Winn-Dixie. She was later on, and she had never had an egg salad sandwich. Well, that didn't go very well in our home, but at least we tried. Okay, so one of the questions that we have is, with the fast pace of electronics and phones, we are really having a tough time holding attention with our toddlers, even if it's 3 minutes. What do you suggest? We have tried the activity method, movement first, then story time, currently at a loss.
I can start, and you all can wind it up. Toddlers, if you think about what the attention span is for a toddler, you want to think about their age is equivalent to the minutes, right? So if they're 1, they can probably attend for 1 minute before transitioning to something else. So what you want to be able to do is try to build up, like you've started doing, build up their tolerance for being able to sit down. A child that is like 1, 2 years old is not meant to sit down for 5 to 10 minutes for circle time. Circle time needs to be shorter and done in different kind of increments or in a way that allows them to engage. One of the things that you're finding with tablets and phones is they're keeping the engagement and they are like keeping the child's mind going. So they are being fed kind of this not adrenaline, it's like a dopamine, adrenaline kind of rush where they're getting instant feedback all the time. So what you want to be able to do is minimize or absolutely reduce that time, because the American Center for Pediatrics doesn't recommend screen time for young children under 5 anyway. So you want to be able to start with the amount of time that matches their age. So if it's a toddler 2 class, I would start with 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes maybe, and then make it longer. Once you see attention starting to wane, all right, it's time to redirect. You can redirect a little bit and try to bring them back, but you really want to make sure that you're matching their age in terms of the attention.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Uh,
you also can have radios inside of your home or anything to where they still can have that interaction, but not actually visualize it. So there's nothing wrong with putting on the radio or like music with no TV or something like that to have them to where they listening, but they're not actually focused on it, so they can still eat and listen to rhyming things. They could do all. Oh, my light going out. Hold on, y'all. Light. There we go. Sorry, but karaoke. It's all type of ways that you can bring it to where they are limited to it. Like with us, we do, like they said, 2 to 3 minutes a day. And the only time that they have screen time here is doing music and movement, because they actually seeing the head, shoulder, knees, and toes. They seeing the freeze dance. They seeing the lava thing, because they're incorporating those things. But then after that is strictly activities, busy books, going outside playing, come back in, eating. They're doing some more activities, and they don't even pay attention to the tablet sometimes, because we have went months without bringing out the tablets. And guess what? They don't see it. They don't ask for it. So if you try to switch it up to where they don't get a tablet, or you give them stickers, say, hey, let's see if we don't have phones for 3 hours. Give them stickers, give them, I'm not gonna say treats, but like give them stickers, give them toys or new toys. So that way you're gradually stepping away from the screen time, because it gets overwhelming. And even for us adults, like I know some adults that not on Instagram, not on Facebook, because it consumes too much of their time. So just imagine what it do to a young
Developing brain.
brain versus a grown brain, or like a grown up. So
Absolutely.
Well,
And
I want to
okay.
thank well, I want to thank all of you. That was our question from our chat. Courtney, Dr. Wallen, and Alonso, can you please tell everyone how they can find you and more about your organization and any upcoming events you'd like to share?
Yes, Stacy, you can go first.
I can go first. So I work at the Rollins Center for Language and Literacy at the Atlanta Speech School, and we are the power behind Cox Campus. So if you have any questions as a parent, as an educator, if you go to coxcampus.org, you go to our page, there's a section for educators, there's a section for families. If you join Cox Campus, everything there is free.
And I work for QCC, and we have a website as well. And if you go to qcc.org, you can see all the great things that QCC has to offer. And my email is my name at qcc.ga.org.
And,
oh,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Alonzo. I'm sorry.
and we only have an Instagram page, and it is Kale Academy LLC, KALEACADEMY LLC. You can follow us on there, where you'll see tons of things that we do. It's so much that we do. It will take us a lifetime to show you, because we are so big on reading, learning, literacy. Like, our kids, we tell them that you have to learn how to read before you could leave, but they're going to age out anyway. But that keeps them like, hey, I can read now, so it's time for me to graduate. So follow our page, and you'll see what Kell Academy is all about.
Thank you. Go ahead and audience, please feel free to take a screenshot or write them down. A recording of this webinar will be sent out to all registrants afterwards. Thank you again to our sponsor, Carter's. We greatly appreciate their commitment to help nurture and protect children and to build communities in which children can thrive. If you'd like to get more information about upcoming webinars like the one we had today, sign up for our Georgia Parent Power Text Service. Text CARE at 844-722-4255. If you would like tips on encouraging early literacy in your childcare program, text READ to 844-722-4255. QCC will send you tips on boosting language and literacy through conversations, books, and activities. As a reminder, we will send a follow-up email with resources mentioned during our time together today, along with a YouTube link to rewatch the webinar and the link to complete our survey. QCC is a nonprofit organization. If you would like to contribute to help us continue to provide great programs like this webinar and to help every child reach their full potential, please visit us at qccdonate.org. Your contribution is appreciated. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.